If you're building something new and haven't heard of this $50,000 tax credit, you're not just missing out. You might be running out of cash for no reason. There's a federal tax credit that can help you cover payroll, extend your runway, and even fund your next product launch. And no, you don't need to be profitable, venture-backed, or writing code in a hoodie to qualify. I've seen wineries get it. I've seen engineers and even sustainable packaging startups get it. And with Congress finally moving, things just got real. So let me take you back to a moment that made me realize how big this gap really is. I was backstage at a taping of The Pitch, shout out to Lisa and Josh Muccio, and I was listening to this founder who was pitching a workplace safety solution. Killer team, solid traction. This founder says, I have 3 engineers on payroll, and we plan to spend heavily on research and development the remainder of this year and into Q1. But their team had no idea about the R&D tax credit. As their pitch went on, I just froze right there. Because I've heard that line before, but not usually in front of a bunch of cameras and a table of VCs. I've met with dozens of founders with engineers on payroll, burning cash on technical problem solving, and not one of them realizes they already qualified for this. And that's the thing. No one is talking about this tax credit. Not your CPA, not your lawyer, not even most founders and investors. So let me introduce you to Maya, an amazing founder. Maya's building a sustainable packaging startup. She's bootstrapped, lean, constantly testing new materials and production methods. She's hired 2 contractors and 1 full-time employee recently, prototype after prototype, all out of pocket. And she had no idea she qualified for the R&D tax credit. She told me, I thought it was only for tech companies or pharmaceuticals. Fast forward 3 weeks after we spoke, she signed that last form, and now the tax credit paid for Maya's next product launch. And what she tapped into is what you might be ignoring. The R&D tax credit gives you up to $250,000 a year in federal credits. But most early stage startups I come across access around $50,000 through something called the payroll tax offset. Let me be super clear here. You don't have to be profitable. You don't need to be winning at taxes. You just need to be doing this: developing a new product, solving technical challenges, writing or testing software, experimenting with new processes or materials, building internal tools, dashboards, automations. If you're doing any of that, you probably already qualify for the R&D tax credit. Now, here's the kicker. Most CPAs don't bring this up, and here's why. It's not because you don't qualify, it's because they're not asking the right questions. Boom, right? Still not convinced though? Let me tell you about Al. Al's a mechanical engineer, prototyping designs. He saw one of my older videos on the R&D tax credit and decided to check it out. He qualified for $30,000 and he's been filing every year since. Or Steve, who I mentioned before, he owns that small winery. And I'm not kidding. He qualified because of fermentation R&D. We're talking yeast testing, flavor optimization. He got $81K back. This credit isn't about industry though, it's about problem solving. If you're solving technical problems, you're probably doing R&D. Oh, now let's talk about timing, because here's what most people don't realize. Congress has been actively working on making R&D expensing more favorable for startups. There's momentum around this because it's one of the few tax policies that actually has bipartisan support. But here's the thing. Whether the laws get better or stay the same, the R&D tax credit exists right now, today. And most founders are leaving it on the table. The worst thing you can do is wait for perfect policy when there's already money sitting there with your name on it. So here's the good news. You can find out if you qualify in less time than it takes to reheat lunch. Just go to rndexperts.com, fill out the quick 3-minute form, and I'll personally help you connect with the right processing partners for your business. These aren't some random team of people. These are vetted R&D partners We're talking Big Four CPAs, technical specialists who check both federal and state credits for you. They specifically work with startup founders and small businesses, and they offer the lowest fees in the space. Seriously, I negotiated that part. And get this, no surprise invoices, no nickel and diming. They'll walk you through the simple documentation you need, even if you haven't kept perfect records. And this is the cool part, if you didn't file for R&D credits in the past few years because of something called Section 174, I've worked out something special. They'll prepare both your R&D credits and all the amortization analysis for past years. And you only pay if the new favorable legislation actually passes. If it doesn't, the only cost is your time and learning how all this stuff works. It's basically a free shot at reclaiming up to 3 years of credits you probably left on the table. But this isn't some open-ended offer. There's a deadline to start, and there's a deadline to get all this finished by December of the current year. So if you're thinking about it, don't wait. This is founder-friendly, early-stage, optimized, and high-touch. But here's what you need to understand about the R&D tax credit specifically. It's different from tax deductions. What I mean is, even under current law, the R&D tax credit gives you a dollar for dollar tax reduction, not a deduction, an actual credit. So if you qualify for a $30,000 R&D tax credit, that's $30,000 off your tax bill. And if you don't owe taxes, you can still use the payroll tax offset to get up to $250,000 per year against your employment taxes. Here's the math. If you're paying $5,000 a month in payroll taxes for your team, the R&D tax credit can essentially eliminate that for months. Think about it. That's cash flow. That's runway. That's the difference between making it to your next milestone or not. And the best part? This credit has been around for decades. It's not going anywhere. If anything, Congress keeps making it more startup friendly. So if you're sitting there thinking, Rich, this sounds too good to be true, what's the catch? Well, the catch is most founders don't know this exists. And the ones who do often just wait or don't act. They're maybe just too proud to admit that they need this, that they need help. I'm here to encourage you and invite you to get this. When Maya got her credit, she told me something that stuck. This refund didn't just help us catch up, it gave us space to build what's next. So here's the reality right now, regardless of what happens with future legislation. If you're working on something genuinely new, you're already doing R&D. If you're solving problems that didn't have solutions before, if you're experimenting, iterating, failing, and trying again, then the government wants to incentivize exactly what you're already doing. They're literally willing to pay you to innovate, but you have to claim it. What I've learned, the R&D tax credit shifts how you think about building and documenting innovation. The process, by the way, isn't complicated, but it does require documentation. You need to show what you worked on, how it was technically uncertain, and what you tried that didn't work. Most founders think they need pristine documentation from day one, and that's just not the case. You can reconstruct a lot of this the first year through emails, project notes, even Slack messages. And then the following years, it's way easier. The key is starting now, not just for this year, but for the years ahead too. Because if future legislation makes R&D treatment even better, and there is bipartisan momentum for these incentives right now, you want to already have this dialed in. You want to be already documenting your work properly. You want to already have relationships with R&D experts who understand your business. You want to be ready to scale, not scrambling to catch up. I mean, every technical challenge you solve becomes documented innovation that the government wants to reward. Every failed experiment becomes proof of the technical uncertainty that qualifies for this credit. This isn't just about getting money back. It's about building and a systematic approach to innovation that pays for itself. For me, helping founders reclaim what's theirs, that's the work I'm proud of. I've been in your shoes. I know what it's like to bootstrap, to stretch every dollar, to wonder if you're gonna make it to the next milestone. I also know what it's like to discover you've been leaving money on the table. The R&D tax credit exists because innovation is hard. Because building something new requires risk, requires experimentation, requires the possibility, the real possibility of failure. The government recognizes that, and they're willing to share that risk with you, but only if you ask and take action. So if you're building something new, 3 minutes could unlock thousands in refunds and maybe your next product launch. Check out the link down below in the description to rndexperts.com. I'll help get you what you've already earned. As always, I'm Rich, and until next time.